The history of the postal system unfolds as a quiet yet profound thread woven through the rise of civilizations, an invisible architecture that carried not only messages, but authority, commerce, and human connection across vast and often hostile landscapes. Long before formal institutions existed, communication depended on fragile, informal methods. Trusted runners moving on foot, merchants bearing news along trade routes, and signals sent through fire or sound. These early efforts, though ingenious, lacked consistency, speed, and institutional structure. Messages were often delayed, lost, or dependent on personal loyalty rather than an organized system. The true beginning of the postal system emerged when early states grasped a crucial truth. The ability to transmit information swiftly and securely was inseparable from the ability to govern.
In the region of Mesopotamia, often called the cradle of civilization, some of the earliest structured communication practices began to take form between c. 2600 BCE and 1600 BCE under Sumerian and later Babylonian rule. During the reigns of early city-state rulers, such as Ur-Nammu, who reigned c. 2112 to 2095 BCE, and Hammurabi, who reigned c. 1792 to 1750 BCE, administrative communication became increasingly systematized. Messages were inscribed on clay tablets using cuneiform script, then dried or baked for durability. These tablets were often enclosed in clay envelopes, stamped with cylinder seals to ensure authenticity and prevent tampering, an early form of security and verification. Couriers, typically state servants or trusted officials, carried these tablets along established routes connecting major cities such as Ur, Babylon, and Nineveh. While there was no fully developed relay system like later empires, there is evidence of organized messenger networks tied to palaces and temples, particularly during the Ur-3 period, c. 2112 to 2004 BCE, where administrative records mention messengers, Lu-Tu Kingi 4a, and ration systems provided for their journeys. These couriers were supplied with food, rest points, and official authorization, indicating a semi-structured communication system. Under Hammurabi, communication became even more centralized as part of his administrative reforms, especially around c. 1750 BCE, when his legal code required consistent dissemination of laws and royal orders.
Messages often concern taxation, law enforcement, military movement, and agricultural management, showing that communication was already deeply embedded in governance. However, this system remained limited to official use and lacked the speed, regular relay stations, and public accessibility of later postal systems. Thus, while Mesopotamia did not possess a fully organized postal system in the modern sense, it laid essential foundations: written communication, authenticated dispatch, official couriers, and state-controlled message transmission. These innovations formed the conceptual and administrative groundwork upon which later empires, such as the Persians, would build the first true postal networks.
One of the earliest and most remarkable expressions of this realization appeared in the Achaemenid Persian Empire through the Angarium, established under Cyrus the Great, reigned roughly 559 to 530 BCE, and refined by Darius I, reigned 522 to 486 BCE, particularly around roughly 500 BCE with the Royal Road Network. This system introduced a network of relay stations stretching across imperial roads, where mounted couriers could exchange tired horses for fresh ones, allowing messages to travel with unprecedented speed over thousands of kilometers. It was a system defined by discipline and endurance, so much so that the ancient historian Herodotus, roughly 484 to 425 BCE, immortalized its efficiency with the observation that neither natural obstacles nor darkness could halt these couriers. What Persia demonstrated was not merely logistical ingenuity, but the principle that communication could be engineered into a reliable state function.
The Romans expanded this principle into even more structured and bureaucratic form with the cursus publicus, formally organized under Emperor Augustus, reigned 27 BCE to 14 CE, with major structuring around c. 20 BCE. Built upon their vast network of roads, it served as the circulatory system of the empire, carrying official correspondence, military commands, and administrative directives. Yet it remained a privilege of the state, inaccessible to ordinary citizens, reinforcing the idea that control over communication was synonymous with control over power. The speed at which Rome could send instructions from its center to its peripheries became one of the foundations of its durability.
Across Asia, parallel systems evolved with equal sophistication. The Mongol Empire, under Genghis Khan, reigned 1206 to 1227, established the Yam system around 1206 to 1220 CE, later expanded under Kublai Khan, reigned 1260 to 1294, reaching peak efficiency around c. 1270 CE. Stations placed at regular intervals provided fresh horses, provisions, and shelter, while authorized messengers carried special credentials that ensured their swift passage. Messages could traverse immense distances across Asia with a speed that rivaled or even surpassed earlier systems. In Imperial China, earlier foundations had already been laid during the Qin dynasty, 221 to 206 BCE, under Qin Shi Huang, reigned 221 to 210 BCE, and further developed in the Han dynasty, 206 BC to 220 CE, with major courier expansions around 100 BCE, embedding communication deeply within bureaucratic governance and administrative oversight, further illustrating that the management of information was central to the functioning of complex states.
With the fragmentation of centralized empires in medieval Europe, postal communication lost its uniformity and became dispersed among religious institutions, merchant groups, and royal courts. Monasteries preserved lines of correspondence, while trading families developed private networks to support commerce. Gradually, however, more organized systems began to reemerge. The Thurn and Taxis family, notably under Franz von Taxis from 1459 to 1517, played a decisive role in this transformation, establishing a structured postal network across Europe beginning in the 1490s and formalized by imperial appointment in 1505 and 1516 under Emperor Maximilian I, reigned 1493 to 1919. Their system introduced regular routes and schedules, and importantly, began to extend services beyond the exclusive domain of rulers. This marked a subtle but significant shift. Communication was beginning to move from a guarded instrument of power to a shared public utility.
The decisive transformation into a modern postal system occurred in the 19th century, with reforms such as the Uniform Penny Post, legislated through the Postage Act of 1839 and implemented in 1840 in Britain under the reign of Queen Victoria, reigned 1837 to 1901, driven by Rowland Hill, 1795 to 1879. By introducing a uniform, affordable rate for postage regardless of distance and requiring prepayment by the sender, the reform democratized communication. The introduction of the penny black on 1 May 1840, issued 6 May 1840, as the world's first adhesive postage stamp, symbolized this new era. Communication was no longer limited by geography or social status. It became accessible to ordinary people, fueling literacy, personal correspondence, and commercial expansion on an unprecedented scale.
As nations developed their own postal systems, the need for international coordination became evident, leading to the creation of the Universal Postal Union on 9 October 1874 during the Treaty of Berne. This institution unified disparate national systems into a single global framework, allowing mail to move across borders with standardized rules and procedures. For the first time, the world possessed a coherent and cooperative communication network that transcended political boundaries, laying the groundwork for globalization in its earliest tangible form.
Technological advancements in the 19th and 20th centuries further accelerated the evolution of postal systems. Railways, from the 1830s onward, and steamships, mid-1800s, dramatically reduced delivery times, while the advent of airmail, marked by regular services beginning in 1918 after World War I, transformed intercontinental communication from weeks into mere days or hours. Innovations in sorting, such as postal codes, introduced widely between the 1940s to 1960s, and mechanical systems increased efficiency and accuracy, reflecting the growing scale and complexity of global correspondence.
In the modern era, the postal system has undergone yet another transformation. While traditional letter writing has declined in the face of digital communication since the 1990s, the system has adapted rather than disappeared. It now forms the backbone of global logistics, enabling the vast flow of goods driven by e-commerce, while also providing financial and governmental services in many regions. Its role has shifted from carrying primarily written messages to transporting physical objects and supporting essential civic functions.